Happy pre-Thanksgiving, everyone. This is Wednesday, November 27th. We got a lot to cover. A lot of people are traveling over the holidays, so we've got some important information to cover because we've got some huge changes going to be unfolding over the next 7 days. So we're going to break down the details for you. Let's start off and take a look at the water vapor imagery this morning. And finally, the taps have now shut off across the Pacific Northwest. They went through that mid-latitude cyclone that left all the very heavy and flooding rains and the snow in the mountain ranges. Now that has moved inland, and now that's dumping the heavy snows over Utah as well as into Colorado. Man, I-70 just got crushed yesterday. Now that snow line has moved into the Denver area, so they're starting to see snow this morning. And then you can see the stronger cold front that's moving through Kansas. Right now it's rain through that region, but as we get into the afternoon, especially in the overnight hours, some of that will start changing over to snow across the Ohio Valley. Now swinging southbound, notice the warm front that's draped across Texas. Yeah, that is going to really accelerate those temperatures back up today, ahead of compressional heating and that south wind. Some of these temperatures would likely soar well into the 80s this afternoon. And there's also another front that's draped across the southeast that's also going to be lifting northbound. When that happens, that is going to produce some showers and thunderstorms, and some of those could turn severe today as well as into tomorrow. So here's the setup on the temperatures as we get into the peak heating this afternoon. The red area, notice the graph in the right-hand corner of the screen, that is 70s and well into the 80s for a good part of Texas and much of the South. Even some record-breaking temperatures is not out of the question today. But notice the sharp temperature gradient with the yellow heading up into the green area, and then all the way up into the blue area. That is your 5-10 degrees and even points below zero. That is your Arctic air that will be on the table, plunging down to the further south and southeast as we get into the first part of December. So later on this evening, we're going to be dealing with some, that warm front that's going to be lifting back up across the southeast. That's going to moisten up the atmosphere. You can see this green shaded area that tells you some of the precipitable water is starting to enhance across that region. But notice the dry air, the dry slot. This is the brown shaded area. Yes, that is the drying out feature that's going to take place across those regions that got inundated with all the heavier rain as of late. And once that precipitation moves through on the backside across the central plains, you're going to be dry as well. So heading into later on this afternoon, I think this begins literally early tonight. So about 8 o'clock into the overnight hours, this is your tornado parameters. This is that warm front lifting back up again. Yes, we're talking places like in the Mississippi. Those will likely extend into the Alabama region, specifically into the Birmingham location. You could see some isolated spin-up tornadoes. I think the main time frame from this is 8 o'clock tonight through 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. So yes, unfortunately, it is an overnight setup, and some of these could have some tornadic spin-ups associated with them. Here is the isolated tornado threat, essentially from central Mississippi to central Alabama, essentially from Jackson, Mississippi, all the way up into Birmingham, Alabama. This would be an overnight threat. But as the cold front will shift a little bit further off to the east, going into Thursday, your Thanksgiving afternoon, this is where the isolated showers and severe thunderstorms would likely be, extending from the Lake Charles region through the New Orleans area, Mobile, back into Tallahassee, eventually swinging off to the east towards Montgomery, back into Atlanta region, all the way up further north into Charlotte, and really extending into Raleigh, heading into the overnight time frame on your Thanksgiving. So here's the jet stream with that system that's coming off the west coast that's going to traverse across the middle part of the country. Once we get into the nighttime hours, likely tonight into the overnight, heading into your Thanksgiving, some of this could change over to snow across areas of Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, likely definitely some heavier amounts once you get into New York, essentially in Vermont, New Hampshire, but especially into Maine and points northbound into Canada. And then you got the wraparound with a lot of lake effect snow that looks to unfold across that region. So here's the winds. Remember, we got the cold front that essentially moves through Oklahoma later this afternoon, moves through, to Dallas, say at sunset tonight. And then back behind that, we'll be looking at some higher wind gusts on the 35 to 40 mile per hour range. So it's expect to be a windy night and expect to be a windy Thanksgiving further south across the southern plains behind that cold front. And here's your overall wind chills, what will feel like in the body. I know a lot of people are probably grilling and cooking the turkey and everything, getting ready for Thanksgiving on Thanksgiving, a lot of gatherings. So this is what it's going to feel like out into the heat of the afternoon. This would be 4 o'clock in the afternoon, essentially peak heating. Yeah, it's not going to feel very warm at all. In fact, below zero up there in Canada, back into the Dakotas, but even widespread 20s for a good part of Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, through Ohio, and then even in the 40s and 30s across the South. So yes, this is going to be a chilly, raw day for those areas, even in the South and into the Southeast, behind that stronger cold front, and that will leave some snow in its wake. So we should be getting some snow out of this deal across Indiana, Ohio, back into West Virginia, but definitely some higher amounts once you swing up into northern Pennsylvania, especially into New York. Getting into Vermont, New Hampshire, and I think Maine just gets crushed with this system. Not out of the question, could see some foot totals before this is all said and done. But notice the wraparound coming in. That is your lake effect snow. These lakes are in fact record levels, record warmth levels. And when you get that record warmth, lake levels this time of year in November, you can pick up some pretty significant lake effect snowfall totals. So we're expecting those snowfall totals to add in feet over the course of the coming days. So I think things get going actually as early as tonight, but amplifies Friday through the weekend, and even early next week, we're still going to be dealing with that lake effect snow. So it depends on the trajectory of the winds and the wind direction where those more intense lake effect snow bands. But yes, before a week from now, you could be getting some 3, 4, 5 feet totals before all this is done across some of these lake regions. But yes, as you wake up on Friday morning, going shopping for your Black Friday, a lot of people, this is one of your busiest shopping days of the year. Yeah, heading out in the early morning, we got 75% of the nation looking at a freeze. So you're definitely going to have to bundle up across the nation as the coldest air mass of the season on a widespread basis looks to unfold after your Thanksgiving. And I think that's just what's to come of that colder intrusion that will be coming for the northern areas of Alaska, and with that cross-polar flow that looks to take shape over an extended period of time. So this would likely be an extended cool down for at least the northern and central and eastern 2/3 part of the country. Here's the air mass further up into Alaska. This is the funnel effect. This is your cross-polar flow type setup. This is kind of the trajectory that it will likely align from that northwest down to the southeast. So you got ridging building with the drier air. The tap shuts off across the west. Not much rain to speak of across the southwest, and plenty of warmth that's going to be coming across that region. And all the cold, even some of the Arctic cold, will be in this zone. And you get more of a glancing blow if you live in the middle part of the country, especially further southbound, say, for example, into Texas. So here's the setup as far as like precipitation. So on the back side of that, there is going to be some precipitation, but heading into the weekend, it's really not going to be much. I mean, you're going to have a polar flow. There's definitely a colder flow, but yes, you could ring out some snow showers in this wake, but we're not looking at any, significant totals after some of that snow that's going to come across this region But on the backside of that, yes, we could be bringing out some snow, maybe Missouri, Illinois. This would likely swing into Tennessee, getting into Kentucky. But overall, a lot of drier air that comes with that polar flow of air. All that brown shaded area is more or less on the drier side across this region, wherever you see the brown shaded area, which is actually a good part of the country, but it definitely brings the cold, right? So this goes into this weekend. You've got the cross polar flow really starting to elongate, coming out of British Columbia, moving into the northern central area of Canada, and then we'll swing down through the Great Lakes, through the Ohio Valley, and getting into the mid-Atlantic. You'll have a shot of colder air down to the southeast, but further off into the middle part of the country, it's more of a glancing blow, and then don't really get any colder air out west. In fact, the further west you live, it's the more warmth you're going to deal with. But for, again, as we head into Sunday, now we're talking about an 80% chance, 80% of the country in experiencing a freeze. And most of them, yes, it's going to be across the east. But notice these areas further southbound, even Mississippi. Notice even further southern portions of Alabama, and even in the Florida Panhandle could actually see a freeze coming up on Sunday, beginning your meteorologically, December 1st, which is your meteorologically winter. For us, this is when we start keeping records for winter, but that flow is just going to continue alive and well through Monday. So I don't think this flow stops really anytime soon. It's going to be more of a cross polar flow. And yes, if you're in that zone, it's going to definitely feel like winter, and the chill is going to be in the air. But if you're outside of that zone, you're gonna be like, pal, what are you talking about? Where's all this cold air that you're talking about? Well, it's warm west and cold east, which is kind of rare what we've seen a good part of most of this December. So in fact, this is the coldest air mass for the east, at least the beginning of it, in like 10 years. It's been a while since they've seen an extended cool down that they're going to be seeing across the east. So for those regions, you're definitely, if you're cold weather fans, you're going to be loving this pattern. But it does produce some snow, but it's not, again, as we head into Tuesday, more of an isolated sporadic snow showers. Now it'll be highlighted over Kentucky, areas of Tennessee, back into West Virginia. But notice the precipitation. There's really not much, folks. This is an overall drier flow coming in, but it's definitely going to bring the cold, right? It definitely has the cold with it, especially for those areas east. But heading into the middle part of the next week, by the time we go into December 4th, now that ridge will be starting to build even stronger out west. So for those areas, especially across the central U.S., won't be feeling that colder air anytime soon. It's more of an average to above average air mass as the cold air continues to hang on across the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, get into the mid-Atlantic, across the Carolinas. You stay cold for the foreseeable future. So if we break it down for you after Thanksgiving, after we hit that warmer air mass for today, and you got that first initial blast, this is over 10 days, folks. This is over 10 days. That cross-polar flow is in full effect, and those below average temperatures hang around for the foreseeable future. If you live anywhere from Minnesota down to Arkansas, through the southeast, all the way into Florida, folks, all the way down to the tip of Florida, you're going to experience this chill with the coldest anomalies highlighted across the Ohio Valley and into the mid-Atlantic. And as far as the precipitation goes, over the next week, again, it's pretty dry. So it's dry across the west. You've got that mid-latitude cyclones, cycling out. So you dry out across that region. We've got the front system coming in, and that's going to swing across the Ohio Valley tonight, going into tomorrow. This should produce some showers, some snow showers in its wake, higher snow amounts as you swing through New England, northern New England. Then of course further south we'll have that isolated sporadic activity, and then we'll have to watch a disturbance. This is late in the period going into maybe the middle part of the next week. It might bring some showers starting to come back across South Texas, getting into Southeast Texas by then. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch the next update. Why I protect you before and after the storm.